And thank you, everybody, for being here. We're excited to talk with you today. My name is Katie Fallon, and my assistant here, who likes to be right in the camera, is this is Cheryl, and Cheryl is an American crow, and she is one of our non-releasable ambassador birds who lives here at the Avian Conservation Center of Appalachia, which is a very long name. It's kind of a mouthful. We usually just say ACCA. It's a little bit easier. But what we do here at the ACCA is we try to conserve the region's wild birds through research, education, and rehabilitation. And education is what we're doing here today. And the birds that you will see today are birds that are unable to return to the wild for different reasons. But they are all comfortable and have an important job to help teach people about birds and the ecosystems that we share. So Cheryl is, I think even before I talk about Cheryl in particular, I should mention that we get usually about 500 injured wild birds at the ACCA every year. And that's a lot of injured wild birds for us to take care of. We get everything from hummingbirds and robins all the way up to vultures and owls and eagles and everything in between. We usually see about 50 to 60 different species of birds over that 500 or so individuals. And for whatever reason, this year, we're up to about 640 injured wild birds, I think, right now, which is a lot of birds to come in a year. And in part, we think maybe it has to do with COVID and people being around home more often and maybe discovering injured wild birds near where they live. And this Cheryl was a bird that came into us injured. She was a fledgling. So she was a baby that had left the nest on her own and was probably following her parents around, learning how to be a crow, learning what to eat, where to find food and how to behave. And unfortunately, she was hit by a car and she had 2 broken bones in one of her wings. And the bones that were broken were the ulna and the radius. And then if you think about your lower arm, you have 2 bones in your lower arm. Hi, Cheryl. And oh, hello. And those 2 bones were broken. And unfortunately, she had spent several days probably near the road where she had been injured before anyone rescued her, and the bones had already sort of started to heal before she got to us. So she can fly fairly well, but unfortunately she can't fly well enough to return to the wild. She wouldn't be able to survive. But since she was such a youngster when she came in, she adapted very well to living under human care. And she is a great ambassador, and she loves these virtual programs. She can get right up in the camera, and she seems to kind of enjoy it, actually. But she's a little bit shy going out in person, like to a school or something. That makes her a little bit nervous. So she's a lot more comfortable doing programs like this. Crows are very, very smart birds, and you are probably accustomed to seeing them around wherever you live. They are in cities, they are in farms, they're in the woods. I mean, they're in a lot of different kind of habitats. There are a lot of crows out there. Ravens are the only other sort of all black birds that we have. So you almost any day of the year here in West Virginia, you can look around and you could see crows. They do move a little bit seasonally, but they are here. They're here in the winter as well as in the summer, and of course they nest here. So I don't know if you can see the bird that's behind Cheryl, but I'm going to lift my camera up just a little bit. And sometimes Cheryl gets nervous, but you might be able to see this bird behind her. And that bird is a turkey vulture, which is my favorite species of bird. And I'm going to go ahead and get some food right now so you can see these birds eat. And Boris, the turkey vulture, will probably come right over as soon as I get her food, and I'll tell you more about her. So give me 1 second while I grab this food. But of course, Cheryl saw me bringing lunch. So Cheryl wanted to get her lunch first. Crows eat a wide variety of food. And if you can see what I have here, she's eating a piece of a mouse right now. So hopefully you're all finished eating lunch. So crows do scavenge and eat dead things, like roadkill deer or other animals that are dead on the road, or they might eat from a gut pile if you're deer hunting and you field dress your deer. They also will eat fruits. She's got some little pieces of melon in here, and they eat nuts. She's got peanuts and some other nuts. She's also got some dried cranberries, and she has some blueberries in here, and she also has some mealworms, and she likes all of these. She also really likes hard-boiled eggs, although I don't have any of those for her today, but she usually goes for the mice or the worms first, and she leaves the fruit for later. So if you sometimes you might do that too, right? You might eat your favorite thing off the plate and leave the rest for later. So I'm going to go and put Cheryl's lunch over here. And Cheryl has a little spot where she eats lunch, where the vultures can't get to it, because sometimes they will try to steal her mice. So I'm going to go ahead and move down here and get closer, let you get closer to Boris. If Cheryl wants to fly out of the way. I hope that I'm not making any of you seasick. So Boris the turkey vulture, come back, honey, is from the Buchanan area of West Virginia. If any of you watching are from the Buchanan area. And Boris, unfortunately, was shot in the left wing, kind of near the elbow. So she can't fly well enough to return to the wild. It is against the law to intentionally harm a turkey vulture or any species of bird protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. And turkey vultures are not a bird that we want to have these birds around, because they do an excellent job of cleaning up the ecosystem. Turkey vultures can actually eat, you want to come even closer? Can actually eat animals that have died of rabies or botulism toxin or anthrax, and they can eat those diseases and neutralize them. So when they go to the bathroom, there's no trace of those diseases anymore in their droppings. And you might notice the second turkey vulture who kind of came over here too, and he wants to get in on some of the food also. So I'm going to go ahead and leave him his food right there too. So the other turkey vulture's name is Lou, and Lou is from Lewis County. You may have guessed that. And Lou was hit by a vehicle. So unfortunately, Lou had some damage to his shoulder, and he can't fly well enough to return to the wild either. So both Boris and Lou are fairly badly. They try to steal each other's food. Come on, honey. You got more in here. So both Lou and Boris are fairly badly handicapped, and neither one can fly well enough to return to the wild. Really, they can't fly at all. They have a lot of perches in here that are ramps to help them, or like steps to help them get around, because they don't have very great balance with their wing problems. So turkey vultures can live a pretty long time. There are at least several turkey vultures living under human care that are in their 30s and their 40s. And both of these birds are younger than 10 years old. We've had Boris for about 5 years, and we've had Lou for 7 or 8 years now. And they were both about 1 year old when they came to us. Once a turkey vulture is over 1 year old, it's really difficult or impossible to tell how old they are by looking. But when they're under 1 year old, they don't really have a red head or a white beak. They have kind of a grayish head and sort of a black beak until they get to be over 1. I don't know if you could tell what Boris is eating, but she is eating, I think she finished it. She had some pieces of rat, but she also had little pieces of fish. And turkey vultures will eat a wide variety of dead things, really almost anything dead. They prefer dead herbivores, but they will also eat you know, almost anything that's dead, they will eat it. So she gets, here at the ACCA, she gets, and then you can kind of see them behind me still eating. She gets fish and rats, mice, chicks, quail, and she will also eat chunks of hunter-killed deer as long as it's killed with a bow and arrow during archery season. We can't feed our birds any meat that's been shot with lead because, unfortunately, if little pieces of lead make it into the meat, that can cause the birds to get sick. But Boris and Lou both love to eat chunks of archery killed deer. It's definitely one of their favorite foods. They will also eat, which is kind of surprising to people, but they will also eat hard-boiled eggs here at ACCA, and we also give them some pieces of fruit like melon and pumpkin, and they will even eat that. Pumpkin is one of Boris's favorites. She really likes to eat pumpkins. So the finder who found Boris is who named her, and by the time we figured out she was female, the name had already stuck. So she's just a girl named Boris, which is fine. Turkey vultures also, you can't tell. You can't tell by looking at them if they are male or female. So you have to do a blood test to be able to find out for sure if you've got a male or female turkey vulture. And some other species of raptors or birds in general, you can tell because of their plumage or their size. But turkey vultures, the boys and the girls look exactly the same. So unless one of them lays an egg, you have to have a blood test. And Boris is actually pretty friendly, and I like to think that we're good friends. She always likes to check the cups to make sure there's no food left in them. And then she goes back to try to clean up whatever she may have missed. You want to check again? So I'm going to go ahead and leave this enclosure now and go ahead and visit some other birds that you might be interested in meeting. Now, don't get me wrong, though. I could stay in here and talk about turkey vultures and crows all day. They are two of my very favorite species. I really enjoy spending time with these birds. Turkey vultures, I mentioned, they eat a lot of dead animals. They're scavengers, obligate scavengers. They don't kill anything. So they actually can be quite gentle and quite peaceful. They're not a species that you have to really worry about hurting you. Their biggest means of defending themselves is to vomit in the direction of whatever they're scared of. So when we get wild turkey vultures in, they will sometimes vomit as soon as we try to, catch them to help them. Lou and Boris, though, are sort of old pros and have been very accustomed to us hanging out with them and feeding them and spending time with them. So they no longer want to waste that food by throwing it up. So, although sometimes they will eat it once they do vomit it. So we're going to go ahead and say bye to these birds. I hope no one gets too seasick by me walking around. And we'll see you later, Cheryl. So I'm going to go ahead and take you to our next bird. And this next bird I'm going to show you. And actually, I have to walk past a couple enclosures to get to the bird I'm going to show you. And this bird will probably like to fly right at you to say hello. This is a barred owl named Jeff, and he is from Jefferson County, West Virginia. And you can see he is definitely not afraid of me right here next to his face. This is a bird who was unfortunately raised by people. His nest fell down. The tree he was nesting in, barred owls nest in hollow trees. The tree that Jeff's family was nesting in fell down, and there were 3 babies inside. And the person who found them didn't know she was supposed to turn them over to someone with a permit. So she raised them, and they became very, very accustomed to people. So unfortunately, because they were so accustomed to people, they could not return to the wild. So Jeff lives here with us, and then his sister lives at Cunningham Falls State Park in Maryland, and his brother lives at Turtle Bay Exploration Park in Redding, California. And we shipped him there on a plane. And his name is Chef, and he's in their shows, but he's not the focus. And then I've got another bird right here who's also not the focus. And I don't know if you can see this guy or not. Oh yeah, I'm sure you can. This is a black vulture. His name is Maverick. And he, of course, is another one of my favorite birds. They're all my favorite birds. Maverick is just a wonderful, wonderful guy who got hit by a car and had a shoulder injury and unfortunately can't return to the wild either. Maverick is, we could have a whole week's worth of programs just about Maverick. So the bird I'm going to show you next, though, is the bird that I think everybody will like to see. And I'm going to go ahead, go inside her enclosure. And I already gave her some food to eat, so she'll be eating something, but it won't be too gross. Don't worry. And I've got some more food for her once she finishes that. So this bird is probably a bird that a lot of you have heard of before. And she's up high, up there. And she's going to be eating her lunch. Let me see if I get the camera on her. There you go. So this is Peregrine Falcon. And her name is Tundra. And let me see where I could set this so you can see her. She's on top of her house. Her name is Tundra because she is an Arctic Peregrine Falcon. So what is an Arctic Peregrine Falcon doing in West Virginia? Well, I will tell you. She was migrating. And she was injured during her first migration. And she's gonna try to find a place to eat. So maybe I'm a little, let me go down here and point the camera up at her. So she was injured during her first migration. There, I think you can still see her on top of her house. And she hit we think she hit some power lines near Elkins, West Virginia. And you can probably see her right wing is just a little bit droopy. And that is because her tendons were burned. So when she hit these power lines, she damaged those tendons. And unfortunately, she can't return to the wild because she can't fly very well. So a peregrine falcon, you probably know, is the world's fastest animal. The cheetah is the world's fastest land animal. But a peregrine falcon is the fastest animal in general. And they can dive at speeds of greater than 200 miles an hour in pursuit of their prey. And they were a species that was endangered. They were removed from the Endangered Species Act, though. And now they are doing better. We have some peregrine falcons in West Virginia, but not very many. They probably were never very numerous here, but we probably did have more than we have right now. Peregrine falcons, like bald eagles, suffered these big population declines due to a pesticide called DDT getting into their bodies and then weakening their eggs. So when the mother peregrine falcon would lay an egg in the nest and then try to sit on it, the egg would smash because the shells were weak. So unfortunately, a lot of the peregrine falcon numbers steeply declined in the last century, but they are doing better now, and we don't use DDT anymore here in the U.S. And the birds have recovered in many ways. It took a lot of great effort by a lot of falconers and conservationists to get peregrine falcons, off the endangered species list and back. Peregrine falcons eat mostly birds. And again, I don't know, I thought she might come closer to eat, but that's what she's eating now is a chicken chick. And they are dead. They're not, we get all of our food for the birds dead, except for the worms. But in the wild, peregrine falcons would eat a wide variety of birds. They've documented them eating something like 400 different species of birds here in North America. Everything from robins, doves, starlings, all the way up to ducks and even geese. And there's at least one account of a peregrine falcon killing a bald eagle. They can be quite fierce when they are, especially when they're defending their nest or defending a territory. And there she's eating the leg of a chick, which is kind of gross. But she will eat the whole entire thing. If the bird has a lot of feathers, she'll pluck all the feathers off, but she will eat the whole entire thing. And I can tell that she wants to come down here and get more food, so I'm just going to move my phone a little bit And she's going to come right down. And she's going to go ahead and she wants to take my whole food cup with her. And the food, this is what I thought she was going to do with the other thing. So what she's eating right here, I'm not sure if you're able to see it or not, but this is, or you probably can see it. This is you want some more, sweetheart? You want to get some more out of there? Here, we'll just give you your whole pile. There you go. So what she has in her talons right now is a young quail. And now she has got a piece of the chicken chick too. I should have maybe warned you this was going to be sort of gross, but quail is her favorite food, and she'll tolerate the chick also, but she really, really enjoys quail. And if we are ever out of quail, she sort of yells at us. So I should also mention when she came into us from the Elkins area, it was the fall of 2013. So she hatched in 2013. She was a young bird. She still had her juvenile plumage. So that's how we could tell she was a young bird, because their plumage is different when they're babies. There, she just ate that whole wing. So she never made it to the tropics on her first migration. So they go, Arctic peregrine falcons will go all the way from the tundra to the tropics. But unfortunately, again, she never made it. She got injured in Elkins. But since she was a young bird when she got to us, just like Cheryl was a young bird when she got to us, she adapted very well to living under human care. So she's very friendly with her human coworkers, and she's a great ambassador. She goes to a lot of schools and a lot of before COVID anyway. She's definitely one of our most active educational birds, and you can see she's got the leather leash straps around her legs. This is just when we try to not hold on to them too tightly, but when we take her out to schools and stuff like that, we put those on her so she doesn't get scared and try to fly away. And she just did a presentation for 600 and some kids at Taylor County Middle School for Career Day, and she did an excellent job. She was like a star. But that's a lot of kids in a gymnasium to do a presentation for, and she did a great job. So I'm going to let her eat. I know we only have a couple minutes left, and I've got one more really cute, really small bird to show you. But first, just if you look at Tundra one more time, so she is a falcon, like I mentioned, Peregrine Falcon. And the next bird I want to show you is also a falcon, and I'll see you later, little buddy. And Peregrine Falcons and all falcons really are very cute. But I think that peregrines especially have just a really cute face, even while they're eating, gross things. They're really adorable. But this next bird I'm going to show you, you've got to bear with me for a minute while I walk around, get some exercise in. So I mentioned that peregrine falcons are the world's fastest animal and can dive at speeds of more than 200 miles an hour. And this next species that we're going to see is also fast, but not quite as fast as a peregrine, but even cuter, right? So here we are, this outside at ACCA still, and this is Cheyenne Carter right here. And she's a bird trainer and educator here at ACCA. And her little friend is Killy. And Killy is an American kestrel. And American kestrels are the smallest and most common falcon species in West Virginia and in North America. And you can find these guys in farms, on power lines, and fence posts. They often will hunt for mice and insects in farm fields. And sometimes they will actually even hover over the fields while they're looking for food. They are very small, obviously quite a bit smaller than Tundra the peregrine falcon. And obviously here, maybe I'll go this way so you can see him from the front. There we go. Hi, Killy. And obviously we don't let Killy and Tundra the peregrine falcon meet each other because she would eat him. So kestrels can end up being food for larger birds. Cooper's hawks may also eat American kestrels. And I wonder if I can even put my phone over here. I don't want to go too far from Killy, but I also don't want to make anybody too seasick. There we go. It's a constant, oh my, constant, there's always a learning curve with presentations on a phone. That's pretty good. Yeah, sure. So Killy is a male American kestrel. You can see he's got these beautiful, beautiful blue on his wings. And he also has blue on his head. A female American kestrel doesn't have that bright blue color. Female American kestrels have sort of a rusty color all over their bodies. And there he is, Killy. Hi. So Killy's eating a mouse right now, but Cheyenne was also feeding him worms a minute ago. In the wild, American kestrels probably eat mostly worms. Most of their diet is worms, although they do eat a lot of mice too and other mouse-sized animals. And kestrels have what I've heard described as a superpower in that they can actually see ultraviolet colors. So they can see more colors than we can. And kestrels can see mouse urine. So if a mouse is running through a farm field and peeing as it runs, because mice tend to do that, a kestrel can see that trail of mouse urine and find the mouse and get a meal. And if you see these birds hovering sometimes above a field before they drop down to catch a mouse, the species you're looking at is a kestrel if you see it hovering over a field. And they can look just like a robin or a mourning dove or something like that when they are when you see them, because they are so small. Killy only weighs, well, he probably weighs about 140 grams, but he should probably weigh a little bit less than that. He's a little bit of a yeah. He's a little bit, he tends to eat a lot. He likes food. And I sometimes think that Killy would just keep eating and eating and eating and never stop if we didn't stop feeding him. He enjoys food a lot. So Killy is from Hancock County, West Virginia, which is in the northern panhandle. And he was found as a very, very young baby outside of a nest. Now, they couldn't find the nest where he'd come from, and they didn't see any parent kestrels around. And then it took him just a couple days to get to us. And in that short period of time, he had already become very accustomed to people. And when he arrived here, he pretty much came out of his carrier and said, "Oh, hey, I'm I'm a human too." So Killy is what we call a human imprint, or a bird that's been raised by people and isn't quite sure how to behave like a kestrel. So releasing a bird like Killy could be dangerous for him as well as for humans. He would land on someone's head looking for food. Cheyenne's nodding because he lands on her head all the time. He also may get too close to people and somebody could get scared and could hurt him, even though he would just be looking for food. A larger bird like Jeff that we talked about a couple minutes ago, could really do a lot of damage if he was to approach you and land on your head. He's quite a bit bigger than Killy. But human imprint raptors, unfortunately, can't return to the wild because of the danger they would pose to themselves and others. But Killy's got a job now of being he's got the great job of being an educational ambassador. He gets to go around and meet all kinds of people, and he's very charming, and he talks a lot. And you can see him bobbing his tail a little bit right now. So that's also something that kestrels do. So if you see a bird sitting on power lines, bobbing their tails like that, you may be looking at an American kestrel. So I have a feeling that we are probably pretty much out of time. So is that true, Kevin?
Yeah, we're at 1:30, and so for those of you all who need the reminder about time for other reasons, you're welcome to leave, and we'll share the recording. but we do have a few questions, Katie and Cheyenne, if you're willing to take them.
Sure, of course.
We had a question is, if I hit a bird with my car, how do I catch them to bring to a center, or should I stay with the bird and call a rescue to come get the bird?
That's an excellent question. So it depends. Yeah. So sometimes if you stay with the bird and call a center, it's possible that whoever you call won't be able to answer the phone or might not be able to get there right at that time. I know we have a cell phone that we try to answer, but it's just not always possible to answer it 24 hours a day. So I would try that first. A safe way, most injured birds can be safely transported in a cardboard box, like a regular old cardboard box. And if you've hit a raptor with your car, the part that you have to be careful of is their feet. And you can see that even little Killy, who's our friend, Cheyenne's got to wear this glove that's made of heavy leather. So even though Killy would not hurt her on purpose, if he got scared, he could hurt her with those talons. So if you've got a red-tailed hawk or a great horned owl, you want to be especially careful of the talons. But often if you hit a bird, it might be kind of stunned and out of sorts. What we often tell people to do is, if it's possible and if it's safe, to throw a coat or a towel or a sweatshirt, something like that, over the bird, especially over its eyes and its head. Raptors are very, very visual. All birds are very visual. And when you cover their eyes, they often calm down incredibly. So we will often recommend throwing a towel or something over the bird and scooping the entire thing into a box, towel and all, into a box, and then securing the box, making sure the box is very secure before you put it in the backseat of your car. We had someone who was driving a great blue heron to us once, and a great blue heron is about the most dangerous bird that we would admit here in West Virginia. They have that very long beak that's like a spear that they spear fish and frogs with, and they definitely try to stab at people. So we wear face shields. Anyway, someone was driving a great blue heron to us, and it got out of the box in their car. Fortunately for the person driving, the bird was very emaciated and was very weak and did not hurt her at all, but it could have been a very dangerous situation. So if you hit a bird with your car, you can try to call a rescue. If nobody answers, I know it takes us sometimes, hours to call people back. If it's safe to scoop the bird into a cardboard box and secure the bird. And in our case, so you can see these cars driving around, and where we are on the same property as Cheat Lake Animal Hospital, outside of and the animal hospital is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So what our voicemail message on our phone says that you can bring an injured wild bird here any time of the day or night. And there's a form that the receptionists have. So people just bring the birds in, they fill out a form with their contact info, and that's it. And there's no charge or anything like that. And we have a special room in the back of the animal hospital that's just for the birds. So the birds come in, they go to the back of the room in the hospital, and then one of our veterinarians will admit them and take care of them. So in our case, if people find an injured bird, even if nobody calls them back right away, they can still just bring it to Cheat Lake Animal Hospital. And the door is always open.
Well, that's good to know. I've never personally had the opportunity to take an injured bird to an animal hospital, but I know many people have, even in our area, part of West Virginia, where there's a different similar center that will work with some of those veterinary hospitals.
Yes. Yeah, and we're very happy that your center, Three Rivers, is down there. We get calls sometimes people will find an injured bird and just call all the numbers that they can to try to get help. And we often will refer people to that center from the other half of the state.
Another question related to Killy here is, I know that this is me speaking now. I know that I've seen plans for kestrel boxes, just like you can have plans for bluebird boxes and other kinds of bird boxes. And I was just curious what your experience has been with them, if they're effective, if you're trying to help provide habitat for a bird like this, or any other guidance.
Yes, so kestrels will use nest boxes, and you can find the plans online. It look like you would normally imagine a birdhouse to look, like a big bluebird house. Very similar to a bluebird box, just bigger. So that's called rousing. Is that what he just did right there? It's a comfort behavior. He's just eating his lunch, and his friends Cheyenne and Katie are here, so he's very happy. But kestrel boxes can be great ways to help kestrels. They are a species that's declining in many parts of the country due to loss of habitat and predation by larger birds, and possibly, spraying insects could have an impact on kestrels as well. But a nest box, if you have a field with an edge, maybe some woods along the edge, that can be a great place to put a nest box facing the field. They are a grassland species, so you've got to have quite a bit of pasture or grassland in order to attract kestrels. They're not going to be in the woods. They're not going to even really be in shrubby areas. They really are a species that likes fields. But there's a group, the Peregrine Fund is a nonprofit located in Boise, Idaho, and they have a program called the American Kestrel Partnership that we are part of, that is trying to get, it's a national network of kestrel boxes and groups that monitor kestrel boxes. We, ACCA, partners with the West Virginia DNR, and Killy just, oh my gosh, there's more food in your pocket, he said. But we have an American Kestrel Nest Box program. We're out of boxes right now, but the DNR is going to be giving us some more. We try to locate landowners in our area with appropriate kestrel habitat and see if they will put up a nest box or two, and then monitor it and let us know if there are baby kestrels in it, and then we can report that data to the American Kestrel Partnership.
That kind of feeds into another question, an earlier question that I was holding on to, which is, and this is just some background I wanted to share, is that I always pay attention to the mast survey that the DNR puts out, which is the soft mast being like the fruits and berries, and the hard mast, the nuts and seeds, the production in a year. And this was a really productive year for soft and hard mast, at least in our part of the state. And I wondered if that tells you all anything about what to expect, or how the birds will be doing, or even maybe kind of, as you were saying, that there were so many more intakes this year, if that prepares you for anything in your job.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not sure about mast necessarily, or if Cheyenne has any, but I do know that there are certain events that definitely can impact birds that we admit. For example, cicadas. Different parts of the state have these huge cicada hatches, every 17 years in some cases. We had our big 17-year cicada hatch here in the Morgantown area in 2016, and we admitted something like more than twice as many screech owls as we would in a normal year. And we had a lot of kestrels then too. And I sort of wonder if maybe the babies were more successful those years because they were eating all the cicadas. Also, this past year, early in 2021, there was a weather event in the Great Lakes where I think they had a very quick freeze. And there were a lot of waterfowl that were up there that had to get out, that had to get away from that big freeze. So we admitted, I don't know if Cheyenne remembers, like 11 horned grebes, like, yeah, loon, long-tailed ducks. We had 3 or 4 long-tailed ducks come in, and that's a species that we had never seen before. It's an Arctic sea duck, really. So we got all these birds in that were coming down from the Great Lakes and landing on wet pavement that sort of looked like a water surface. And then those bird species can't walk very well on land because they're built for swimming, and their feet are kind of back on the bottom for them, like a mallard. So a lot of them had like road rash, or they kind of get stranded and they can't take off flying the road. So there are certain events like that where we will see that we do attribute to, an increase in certain species being admitted to rehab. I'm not sure about the masts necessarily. We don't officially do upland game birds because they are sort of under the protection or jurisdiction of the DNR. So in our permits to rehab migratory birds come from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So turkeys, that might you might have a lot of turkeys if you have a lot of mast, I would assume. So wild turkeys we don't rehab.
One food, I guess, the lemming population will allow for a lot of baby or fledglings snowy owls. And if they have a good year in lemming, which means they'll probably have a lot of fledgling snowy owls, those guys will get pushed down. So that's one of the reasons why we had a snowy in the past that got pushed more south.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And the lemmings are, really cute little rodent. Are they rodents?
Yeah.
Rodent creatures that live in the Arctic. And if there's a big lemming boom, then more baby snowy owls survive. They might get pushed down our way, which is really exciting.
Well, we only have one other question, and thank you for hanging on so long. And that is, what got you into this work?
Oh, well, I'm sort of obsessed with birds. My first word was bird. Cheyenne is also obsessed with birds. And we started this organization about 10 years ago out of a need for a place that was going to rehab all species of birds, of native wild birds. And it's been kind of amazing. Like all the birds that 640 birds this year is ridiculous. Like what was happening to all those birds before there was somewhere to take them, take care of them when they were injured. So I think a good message or something to remember is you can get into this kind of work even if you don't have a wildlife degree or a veterinary degree or something like that. Like my degree is in English, is in writing. So I write a lot about birds. I write a column for Birdwatchers Digest, and I've written some books about birds. And I've taught. I'm a teacher, which helps doing stuff like this. Cheyenne was one of my students. Cheyenne has a degree in biology, so that is sort of more in line with bird things, sort of.
Kind of. It's more plants.
More plants.
I have a minor in wildlife.
But there's all kinds of things you can do with birds that are beyond like just having a wildlife degree, like artists and graphic designers and
citizen science projects.
Right.
I started with Christmas bird counts and started bluebird nest box trail. So volunteering is the best way to really get involved.
Yeah, volunteering is great. It gets you up close and personal with birds. And while Cheyenne and I are both kind of do bird things in a professional capacity, most of the people who work here are volunteers. So we have about 40 volunteers who come from all walks of life. We have high school students, retired people, a lot of WVU students, master naturalists, engineers, scientists. We really have carpenters, nurses,
radio
yeah,
techs.
veterinary technicians and stuff, of course. So yeah, we have like a lot of different kind of people who all share a common interest in birds and conserving the environment, helping injured wildlife, and you get to hang out with like birds like Killy. So it's a great experience. There's also this whole, a spiky parrot, yeah. There's also this whole all these other careers that people might not think about, like nonprofit management and grant writing, and like accounting, like stuff like that you nonprofit law, all these different sort of things that could be connected to helping with wildlife beyond just sort of the traditional wildlife degree, which is great too, of course.